Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and this is the 2022 Ford Maverick. This is perhaps one of the most exciting new vehicles to come on sale this year. We finally got our hands on one after a little bit of a delay, and I'm super excited to walk you through everything about this 2022 Maverick. So with that, let's run through what this truck is, where it fits in the Ford truck lineup, all the different trims and drivetrains, all the important numbers as far as payload and towing and other capacities, give you a quick tour of both the exterior and interior, and then we'll get it on the road and see how it is to drive. If you think this video is really great, please be sure to give us a thumbs up. If you like the idea of the entire channel, please be sure to subscribe. We so appreciate all that support. And now on to the Maverick. So like I said, this is brand new for 2022, and this is actually a bit of an interesting truck. If you haven't followed all the news about the Maverick, it's similar to the Hyundai Santa Cruz in that both of those vehicles are front-wheel drive based unibody trucks. They're kind of like a throwback to the old Dodge Rampage, if you remember that from the 80s, and some other earlier pickup trucks where they don't necessarily have to be a body-on-frame, rear-wheel drive, kind of clunky to drive vehicle. They can be pretty decent to drive, better on fuel, and also still be enough of a truck when you need it. So Ford created this Maverick. This is based on the C2 platform, which underpins the current generation Ford Escape and the Ford Bronco Sport. Now what's interesting, this is bigger than both of those vehicles. It is a decent amount longer, and it's got more wheelbase. This is 199.7 inches long, which will be longer than both the Escape and the Bronco Sport, but it's on that same chassis. Now regardless of trim level, all Mavericks can be either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which means you can have this Lariat as a fully loaded front-wheel drive truck, or you can have a basic XL with all-wheel drive. The caveat is that your drivetrain choices determine how many drive wheels you can have. The biggest news with the 2022 Maverick is that the base model of this truck starts, first of all, at $19,995, and it is a 41-mile-a-gallon hybrid. It is a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder paired to Ford's hybrid system. If you've driven an Escape hybrid, it's going to be the same drivetrain as that. And that is about 170 horsepower and 150-something pound-feet of torque. That should be pretty good for a lot of drivers if you're not going to be towing necessarily. You just want something that's utilitarian, able to be hosed out in the back, can put all your junk back there, and pretty good on fuel for a lot of city-type driving. If you want a little bit more power, torque, capability, you can get the upgraded engine. You have to get the upgraded engine if you want all-wheel drive. So this Lariat version of the Maverick has the 2-liter EcoBoost turbocharged 4-cylinder in it. That is good for 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. So that's the one that's in here. If you want all-wheel drive, you must get the EcoBoost. It is still rated at 22 miles a gallon in the city and 29 miles a gallon on the highway, so it's not necessarily bad on fuel. With all that, let's talk about trim levels. I mentioned this is the Lariat. This is the top trim you can get here. You're not going to find a Maverick King Ranch or a Maverick Platinum or anything like that. This is the top. There is an XLT in the middle, and then the base one is called the XL. The XL is truly a base truck. It comes with steel wheels. It comes with minimal options inside. You get things like power windows and power locks. You do not get cruise control. You just don't. But I question how many people use cruise control on the daily. So that's the XL. It starts at right around 20 grand. The XLT is probably what most people are going to end up with. It's got enough creature comforts to make you happy, but it keeps the price at something that also will keep you very happy. This one is almost fully loaded and comes in around $37,000. You can bring it a little bit higher with one key package that this one is missing, which is the 4,000-pound tow package. $37,500, let's say, for a fully loaded Maverick, but there are more good options to be had here, whether you want a Lariat with fewer options, an XLT with, some stuff but not all of it, or you can just stay pretty bare bones and get the XL, and it's still going to be a lot of truck. Now, numbers-wise, like I mentioned, if you want the all-wheel drive on the Maverick, you do have to get the more powerful 2-liter EcoBoost. The other thing is if you want to tow the most amount of weight Ford can configure a Maverick to tow, which is 4,000 pounds, you have to get the EcoBoost and you have to get the all-wheel drive. Now, like I said, this truck does not have the 4,000-pound tow option, so we're not actually going to be towing with this today. I'm really sorry about that, but, this kind of is what it is. However, Ford does say that all Mavericks, regardless of how they're equipped, have a 1,500-pound payload capacity, which is a pretty big deal. That is on par with some half-ton trucks like the Ford F-150, and this is substantially smaller than the F-150. So Ford, at least on paper, is trying to make sure that the Maverick is seen as being a very capable vehicle. Check here and see what the payload of this Lariat actually is. This one, like I said, is mostly fully loaded. This is a first edition package, which is only available for the 2022 model year. You get a few different visual things going on here as far as the wheels with the all-terrain tires, the sticker packages everywhere, the black mirror caps, the black roof. You've got a sunroof in this one. So there's enough options here that this will be fairly heavy. Curb weight of these is supposed to be about 3,700 pounds for the all-wheel drive and the EcoBoost. Now payload here, Ford says 1,500 pounds for all Mavericks. If you open the driver's door and look at the door jamb sticker right here, the combined weight of occupants and cargo shall never exceed 1,329 pounds. So this is your reminder that just because someone says something doesn't make it 100% accurate. You can have 1,500 pounds of payload, but you really need to check that driver's door sticker to make sure that's the case with whichever one you're picking. So this is the fully loaded Lariat. If you want more payload, take a look at the XL, the XLT. Consider your options very carefully. Now let's move around to the back of the truck because there's some really cool stuff back there that I want to show you next. So looking back here at the back of the Maverick, this is of course the part that matters more versus something like a Bronco Sport, and that is the truck bed. Every Maverick is going to have this same configuration, which is to say crew cab with 4 full doors and a 4.5-foot truck bed. It doesn't sound like a huge bed. It's not. The smallest F-150 you can get has a 5.5-foot bed, but it's worth mentioning this is far shorter than an F-150. This is, like I said, just under 200 inches in overall length. The shortest F-150s are going to be 232 inches of overall length. So you're saving almost 3 feet of space, and you still have the ability to seat 5 people and a 4.5-foot bed. You can open the tailgate to a halfway open position. You can just hook these cables here around the posts, and with the tailgate open right here, you can fit a 4x8 sheet of plywood across the wheel wells at the front and the back of the tailgate right here. So you can fit longer items back here and just hold the tailgate. It's meant to be put just like this. Let's open up this bed cover and take a look at the inside of this FlexBed truck bed. All right, so let's take a look in the bed of this Maverick. I've got the trifold bed cover pulled back here. So this has the spray and bed liner, but Ford calls this whole setup the FlexBed, and every Maverick has some variant of this. So this one being the Lariat, you've got everything there, but FlexBed basically means you've got tie downs in the corners of the bed. You've got D-rings back here. If we crawl in and take a look, you can see the D-rings on either side. You've got this track here that they've got installed. I think this is optional. You've also got, in this case, these different panels, one on either side. So this has a regular power outlet. You've got an LED bed light back here. On the lower trims of Maverick, these are optional. You can see they bolt in. So there's also just panels that come on the lower trims as standard. The other nice thing is if you pop these covers off, you've got pre-wired 12-volt power here, already wired, already hot, already fused. So you can install whatever you want back here for the sake of powered accessories. So that comes standard on every Maverick. Now, while we're back here at the back, let's head on down and look at the trailer hitch. So every 2022 Maverick is allowed to tow 2,000 pounds. That's all of the hybrids and the EcoBoost without the 4K tow package. So you've all got a standard 2-inch receiver. Here's your safety chains. And then in this case, you only get 4-pin trailer wiring. And that is a big deal because the 4K tow package on this truck gives you quite a bit of other bits that let it tow the 4,000 pound limit. So you actually end up with a higher capacity radiator, you end up with a transmission cooler, an upgraded engine cooling fan, different final drive gearing. They give you that 7-pin trailer wiring, and then they also give you a built-in trailer brake controller. So that's why you're going to want that package, and that's why they don't actually give you the 7-pin connector unless you get it, because there's some pretty significant upgrades you get there. Ford did mention that they use the same truck tests as they do for the F-150 and the Super Duty on the tailgate and the bed of this truck, which means they have tests for the strength of the bed floor. They do drop tests back here, and they do tests of the tailgate strength, and they said that this will pass the exact same tests as the Ford Super Duties. So that's the F-250, the F-350. This apparently passes those same tests. Now, as far as this FlexBed bit, Let's move into the back seat of the Maverick, and you can see, first of all, it's really cool inside. Very fascinating color combos. So Ford is doing some interesting color combos here. There's no black plastic or black trim inside, which I really love as a purveyor of fine color. Everything here is like a navy blue, then with the brown accents on the seats and the door panels, you've got these like bronze accents going on here. If you get a lower trim truck, the XLs have kind of a gray interior, gray seats, cloth seats, still with kind of blue plastics everywhere, and then the XLT in the middle gives you more of a blue and light gray with some orange going on. So really fascinating. I love how much fun and funk and charm there is inside of all of these, regardless of trim level. But before we go too far into that, let's talk about FlexBed, because Ford does more than just the truck bed itself here with the Maverick. They also have some really cool stuff you can do inside. So you'll notice right here, this looks very non-factory because it's not. This is a 3D printed cup holder that Tyler actually made on a 3D printer at work. And what Ford has are these hooks. There's this one right here, and there's more under the back seat I'll show you. And they have freely available designs online where you can download and 3D print different accessories that will fit right into the hooks. So I'm sure you can also find third-party manufacturers that make accessories that will fit into these, but just really cool that they give you that. As far as popping the back seat up here, there's just a strap on either side, so whichever side you're on, you can pull it up. And this will stay up here. And you've got this whole under-seat storage area. I believe if you have the Hybrid, at least part of this is blocked off, but this being the EcoBoost, it's all wide open. You can see plenty of room to fit everything down here, but you can just scan this QR code for the FlexBed system, and you'll notice there's all these little hooks going on all the way across the storage compartment. So really, really cool that they give you all these different ways you can use the interior and make it kind of your own. You'll also note with the back seat up, it is decent back here. If we put the back seat back down, it is fine. I had some friends back here before I was filming. If your friends are above about 5'9", they will not have the best time back here. This is a small back seat. For me at 6'1", I don't particularly fit that well. But it is still a back seat. You can seat 5 people legally with it. And the only other interesting thing is that you've got a fold-out armrest here. Now this one being the Lariat, you have a power sliding back window, and then you can see you've got a sunroof above the front seats, just a standard sunroof, not a pano-roof. Let's head up front and show you a few more things. The door panels are all this kind of blue and gray with the bronze accents. You'll notice this does not connect all the way, this armrest, and that's because you can put a tall water bottle right here. So that is kind of a really nice touch. Looking further inside, you've got more bronze accents, you've got the brown seats. This being the Lariat, you do get a power driver's seat. It's not the most power operational as far as how many ways it adjusts, but it does adjust by power. It does adjust for height, although it only tips in the rear, so you kind of go up and forward if you tip it. And then it does have two-way lumbar in and out fixed for up and down positioning. Now looking further inside here, you've got regular gauges, praise be. You have regular gauges for your tach, your speedometer, your coolant, and your fuel. Pretty typical steering wheel going on with some actual hard buttons for everything, which is really nice. And then you have an 8-inch sync touch screen here that does support CarPlay and Android Auto, but it is wired, of course, which is fine. You have a little interesting pocket here, perfect for about one taco or half a burrito. So if you have leftovers, you can certainly pop them in right there. Also more clever storage up here on top. And then you've got some nice hard buttons for all of your radio controls. And further down, you've got some vents and hard buttons for your climate. Now the Lariat has dual zone climate with automatic climate. It's got heated seats, it's got a heated steering wheel. You have a similar setup to this. If you get a more basic model, it will have single zone climate, but same sort of setup. Looking further down, this is where things get a little funky on the Lariat because you get keyless go, so you have a start-stop button down here. This feels a little tacked on, and then you've got the control right here for your sliding back window. These two controls I think are very hard to find at first glance. Of course, as an owner, you'll get used to them, but kind of strange where they're placed. Further down here, very nice as far as these different rubbery pockets. These are meant to mimic the bronze everywhere else. This is a wireless charging mat for your phone. This is just a storage pocket and a storage pocket. And then moving further back, you've got two cup holders, another little storage pocket, another little storage pocket that is rubberized, and then all your controls here. So this is your control for your transmission. It's just the dial. You've got regular park, reverse, neutral, drive, and a low button. You don't have the ability in this truck to control which gear you are in. Electronic parking brake, and then controls for drive modes, traction control, auto start stop, and auto brake hold. And then of course, if you take a look inside the center console, this is pretty large as well. So a lot of nice storage going on in here. I think the interior is very functional and usable for how small this truck actually is. All right, and that is the overview of this 2022 Maverick. Now let's get on the road and see how it is to drive. All right, so driving the 2022 Ford Maverick. As a reminder, this is the 2-liter EcoBoost with all-wheel drive. All of these use the same 8-speed torque converter automatic for the sake of transmission. Obviously, the hybrids have their own setup there. The one thing I don't love about the way this is set up, you've got a button that says L for a low gear engagement, but that doesn't really give you full control over which gear you can pick if you're going down a long grade or if you're towing or something. They don't give you that. So there is a tow haul mode. This button right here does drive modes, and there is a tow haul mode, and historically that has been pretty good with Ford's programming for the sake of auto downshifts while you're on the brakes or things, but would still love a way to pick your own gears. Like I said, we're not towing anything with this one, and that is because really anything that we would tow, that all of you would tow, is going to be more than 2,000 pounds. So the 2,000 pound tow limit is the same for all hybrids and for all EcoBoosts without that extra 4,000 pound tow package. And you know, that's fine if you've got like some jet skis or a utility trailer to go, you know, to and from the dump or to a hardware store or whatever, but for most people towing most things, you'll want to get the 4K package, which means you have to get the EcoBoost and you have to get all-wheel drive. Thankfully, you can have that on any trim level, so at least you're not really you know, constrained to just the most expensive version of this truck. Now, the other interesting thing here with the Maverick is that the rear suspension is actually different based on which engine you pick. So if you get the hybrid, you're going to get a torsion beam rear suspension setup. It's simple, it works just fine. However, if you get the EcoBoost and the all-wheel drive, you have a different setup back here, and it is a fully independent rear suspension with coil springs. So just a different sort of packaging approach based on, you know, what you've got for what's back there. You know, with the hybrids and the front-wheel drive trucks, with nothing really back there at the wheels, they can do a simpler setup. It does change how much leg room you get in the second row, so something to consider. Try out a hybrid and try out an all-wheel drive truck if you're concerned about leg room, because you'll have two different options there. Now, if I'm looking to accelerate, obviously EcoBoost does just fine. 250 horsepower is plenty, 277 pound-feet, plenty. It does, you know, work for it. It's not going to make everything right at 2,000 RPM. Your peak power comes in around 5,000 RPM. Your peak torque is in the 3,000, 3,300 range. So you do work for it. It makes nice progressive power, though. The turbo stays engaged. It's not like power drops off as you rev it, so it does feel pretty healthy all over the tachometer, which is nice. I think it would tow pretty well. Hopefully we can get our hands on another one with the 4K tow package to try it later on. Now, some people did express concern over the ride quality, given this is still, of course, meant to have a bunch of payload in the back. In this case, it's about 1,300 pounds, not 1,500, but either way, I think this rides pretty well for what it is. It is obviously full four-corner independent suspension, coil sprung. It feels pretty nice. And it is, you know, I mentioned it's the size of that old Ranger, but having driven those old Rangers, this is much better to drive day to day. It's much more car-like and just easy everywhere. It is a little stiff, which I think they probably had to do for the sake of retaining payload and overall capacity. But it's not so stiff that you're going to beat your friends up if they're sitting in the back seat. You know, it's generally a pretty decent ride in here. We're going to pull a U-turn here. This has a pretty tight turning circle, even being all-wheel drive. Pretty easy. Get on it one more time. It is noisy in here. Not obscenely so, but especially at highway speeds, you do get a decent amount of wind noise and tire noise, but you know, keep in mind this is a vehicle that starts at $19,995. That is kind of the mythical one that might be a little sold out and hard to get right now, but that is the base price. People are buying them for that. So, you know, you're not going to get, this isn't a luxury truck. No one's claiming it is. As far as everything else going on in here, with this being a Lariat, it's a nice enough place to spend time. I think the seats are relatively comfortable. I have been in better seats, but these are not bad. The Bang & Olufsen sound system is pretty good, again, for this type of vehicle. I like it just fine. I have had a total fit handling the dual zone automatic climate control. It seems to want to blow warm air a lot, and I have finally figured out that you have to control the air conditioning manually. It doesn't engage that on its own, at least I don't think it does. Otherwise, in here, everything is perfectly fine. I like having all these features with the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, the sunroof is nice, the back window is nice, but one of my automotive media buddies is driving the base model of this truck while I'm driving this one. And we got together a few days ago and compared the two. I don't know if this truck is $17,000 better than the base one. I'm left with this kind of quandary because this one is 37 grand. It doesn't have the max tow package. That being said, the XLT trim is still plenty nice. It is a very funky, interesting, cool cabin with some nice colors going on. You can still get enough luxury touches. They have a luxury package on the XLT that makes it feel pretty nice. You can get it with the hybrid or the EcoBoost, front wheel drive or all wheel drive. You can get the 4K tow, and you can build one of these as an XLT that will tow 4,000 pounds, that has all wheel drive, that will have some nice options and come in right at $30,000. And for 30 grand, I am way more excited about this Maverick than I am at 37 grand. I'm even more excited if you don't need to tow anything with it or tow very minimally. Skip the EcoBoost, skip the all-wheel drive, skip the tow package, and have it as a front-wheel drive hybrid XLT with some nice touches that you're just going to use to throw stuff in the bed, maybe pull a very small trailer around here and there, and get really, really good fuel economy. You can do that for like 25, 26 grand, and that to me is the really, really sweet spot. Has remarkably good steering, which is fascinating for a truck. Obviously, this is based on the Escape and the Bronco Sport. It drives like a big car, not in a way to say it's not trucky enough, but it's a pleasant place to spend time for what it is. And old Rangers were very functional. I don't know if I'd call them pleasant. And this is just, it's full of personality. I love the color combos and the interesting materials everywhere. It's so neat, but not neat in a cheesy way that won't age poorly. I think this will age very well. So kudos to Ford for having a little fun with a truck like this, giving it a lot of personality, and making it good on fuel, and keeping the price reasonable, and I think it is so nicely done. And I think if you spec one of these at the right level, it will not be eye-watering expensive. It will not be over-equipped or too large or too anything. It's just going to be a very Goldilocks truck for a lot of people. Is it the truck to buy if you need to tow a lot or haul a lot or need, a really long bed? No. They will sell you a Ranger or an F-150 or an F-250 for that. But I think for most people, I would say for like 70% of truck buyers, this is all you need, and this is very good. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2022 Ford Maverick Lariat. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, if you like what we're up to, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe right here on YouTube. You can also find us on other social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Out Motorsports. And if you'd like to join a community of LGBT automotive enthusiasts, we have a whole group of people at outmotorsports.com that would love to get to know you. So please head over there and check us out. Until next time, please stay safe, be well. See you again soon.